Welcome to Dunedin Cannabis Club, show number 4. We love having you with us every Thursday for our live show, and we get such great feedback from all our viewers, so thank you for joining us. And let's just start the evening, as we always do, by smoking some cannabis. We think that cannabis should be legalized, and you can make your own little effort towards legalization in your own home by defying the prohibition laws and acting as if they don't exist. Because if we all stood up to these unjust laws together, then it would be impossible to enforce them. So that's what we promote here at the Dunedin Cannabis Club. And we have some wonderful visitors this evening, and we all share the same enthusiasm for cannabis and cannabis legalization. Would you guys like to share any of your thoughts?
We're from British Columbia, Canada. And weed is decriminalized in our area, very different from New Zealand. And what Abe said, we think that it should be decriminalized and legalized. It should be part of normal everyday here, and hopefully eventually it will be. Anything to add?
I'm a medicinal user of cannabis. I have stomach problems, what the doctors have labeled as IBS, and cannabis is very, very useful in a lot of different ways for my illness, and it allows me to function normally. So it is very, very useful as a medicine, but I also do believe that it should be able to be available to everybody recreationally. And in the United States, they've done it now in a few of the states. And it's a great example of what happens. I mean, life goes on as it normally does. And it's not this crazy cannabis culture or anything. It's just everybody is just smoking dope now instead of drinking. And the government has so much money that they don't know what to do with it. So really, it's only, I think, a good thing to regulate and legalize marijuana for sure.
What was that like coming to a place like New Zealand where prohibition is still in effect, and you have a legitimate medicinal need, and then here you are in this wonderful, beautiful country trying to enjoy yourself, but you can't get the medicine that you need. Were you actually suffering adverse effects because of that? And how does that feel to be sort of forced into a prohibition situation?
Right. So for the first 2 weeks, really, I didn't have any cannabis. And for the first week, I was very ill. I was pretty much
Useless,
yeah. I was just stuck in bed in the hostel and couldn't really do anything. Couldn't eat, couldn't walk around. I started to get a little bit better to be able to walk around during the day, but I just felt so bad and could really hardly do anything, just didn't have the will for anything. And
couldn't eat?
Yeah, couldn't eat.
How would you compare that to after you have a session?
Oh, after we found weed, it was like instantly a massive difference.
It's like
Appetite came back, my nausea went away, my pain went away, my just general like anxiety went away. It just felt really good to know that I once again was available to have this medicine, and yeah, it made me very happy. And since then, There's been a few times where it's come close because in New Zealand it's definitely not anywhere near stable in the supply as it is in British Columbia, and especially not in Vancouver. But you learn you learn what to do. So
I always think it's quite archaic how government can kind of sanction us away from medicines. That's what I call them, rather than drugs.
right.
I think drug is, wrapped up in negative connotation.
Yeah, it's a very long history with marijuana / hemp being used and legalized and illegalized, and in the end, I think it's come to view that it should really just be legal, and hemp should begin to be utilized a lot more heavily in our society.
And now you guys learned pretty fast, and you did manage to sort of find some in different places that you've been traveling around, and you've managed to self-medicate, and you're enjoying your trip a lot more. And, if those sort of legitimate opportunities for cannabis tourism were available, you guys would be making the most of them if they were there.
Yeah, for sure.
But back home in British Columbia, it's quite advanced. Tell us a little bit about what it's like, the decriminalization or quasi-legalization there, some of the characters that we've heard about, and, dispensary scene and things like that.
Right. Okay. So at home, I do have a dispensary card. So in the downtown Vancouver area, there's when I left anyways, so maybe like a year ago, there was I think 12 or 13 different dispensaries that you could go to. So just weed stores that you walk in, and they have, I think the one that had the lowest amount of strains was maybe about 5 different strains, and they tell you exactly what the weed is, like what strain it is, what it's being crossed with to make that strain, what the effects are. The most expensive for a long time was $10 a gram, and then for a little while there was like this extremely insane weed going around like this behind us here that you could buy, and it was $11 a gram. But it was just stuff that you'll never forget. But you could also buy like weed pills that don't actually get you high, but will just cure specific symptoms.
Like
they're different
non-THC cannabinoids.
Yes, like there are different levels of cannabinoids, and there are different doses of those cannabinoids, and it's like a very big range. Like there's like 50 different pills that you can try for that.
Hemp extracts.
Yeah, exactly. But there's also like weed food in like anything that you want, really. There's extracts, which is like the latest craze in Vancouver, is smoking cannabis oil.
Dabs.
Yeah, doing dabs, but it's like really refined rigs that can cost like over $1,000, like art pieces really, that are just very small, and they're just a small water bong, and it's insane, like the different flavors that you can get, because you use only one type of you only use one type of one strain when you're making the oil.
Yeah.
So just you get a very, very pure flavor and color and everything, and just trying the different ones is amazing.
Oh, if only.
There's actually a dispensary in Vancouver that I was going to before I came here, and there's a dab bar. And when you go there on Tuesdays, it's only $2 for a dab. And there was like 35 different, there's like 35 different dabs that you could try, strains.
Wow.
And it was just, it's so unreal.
And how many dabs could you do?
Oh, I think I did 5 before I was just like unable to do anything.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah, yeah.
But most people, yeah, no, like that's, you could tell the people who smoke a lot of weed, they come in and get like, okay, I want 2 dabs at the same time, right?
And
then,
what would you say what would you say? Were you above average or below average?
well, I think I was above average just because I smoke a lot of weed.
Right.
But
So the normal person would be out after how many?
oh, the normal person would be good with 2 for sure. Like, and they couldn't even do 2 at once. Yeah.
And so 5 is a lot, but some guys were doing more than that.
Oh yeah, like some people would do 10 because they would just get like, they'd sit there for like an hour and just do 2, and then like 20 minutes later do another 2, and then, you know, another 15
Oh,
minutes
so they
later,
gave it 20 minutes.
Yeah. They're not doing it all at once. Is this the thing? Is that it gets to a point you can only do so much because then it doesn't actually work properly because of the titanium nail that you heat up. And
Gets
so,
overwhelmed with dab
yeah,
to the point where it's cooling itself.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so cool because it's so pure, because some of these oils, depending on where you can go, they've been tested for purity, and it's like in the high 90s ranges. So you're just
98% THC.
yeah. So it's just unreal. Yeah,
Fun times.
it's great.
And what would you say about New Zealand cannabis culture? Do you have any thoughts to share about
It's growing now, I think, with the kind of action that's happening in Wellington and all these people in like Timaru and Oamaru coming with cases of their same kids, you know, the same cases. So
in terms of the medicinal uses for like childhood epilepsy?
of course, it's medicine. You can't pull
Getting
that
more
away
and
from
more
medicine.
media exposure, and now that Peter Dunn has allowed the one teenager, Alex Renton, to use it even though they thought it might not work. Now there's people lining up to
Get a bit of
have their opportunity to ease some suffering.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what that. The last I heard was that he just said no.
No, they did let Alex Renton, the teenager from Nelson, they let him get the cannabidiol experimentally.
Yeah.
And it actually, his condition is improving rapidly. And what's the latest
Was it-
update?
Yeah, he's
On
able
Alex's-
to speak now. After
Oh,
2
really?
days, yeah,
Oh, right.
2 doses. I mean.
And have you caught up with the family on Facebook at all, Jules? Or
I think he's breathing on his own now. I don't think he can speak yet.
Okay.
But
It's
his
not
mother
a-
has said there's
it's
going to be like a slow recovery. You know, it's going to take a long time potentially.
but there were positive responses from the first doses of cannabidiol, and I think they were able to bring him out of the coma
right,
because of it,
right.
ostensibly. So that's a huge victory for proponents of cannabis law reform, especially medical cannabis here in New Zealand.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a few really good stories in British Columbia of what the powers of cannabis can do. There's actually a couple court cases proven. There's this guy who really seriously hurt his back, and it was proven, and he was given like really high-powered painkillers, like what are they? Meth, like metha. What's that?
Thank you.
Morphine.
Morphine, right? Which is
Apparently
basically
pretty addictive.
Yeah.
right, which is basically like meth, things like methadone, right? And or I believe so, anyways. But it wasn't very useful actually in his back pain. And he found that a really low level of painkillers, but a high level of THC was extremely useful, and they proved it in a court case. And there's also this cannabis extract called Phoenix Tears, which has helped cure somebody's cancer in British Columbia, and they sell that at the dispensaries. You can buy that.
The Rick Simpson
Right.
hemp oil.
That's right. Yeah, you can buy that, and also just really useful for anybody really, but particularly vegetarians and vegans, is hemp hearts. which is just from the hemp plant. It's whole hemp seeds.
Oh, yes.
Extremely
the nut
healthy.
meat protein of the hemp seed.
Yeah, they actually have a complete protein, and they're one of the very few, if not only, plants in the world to have complete protein actually in their seed. So that's really cool. But they're really healthy and really good for you. And hemp oil as well is extremely healthy to consume.
Well, we thank our viewers for joining us, and we've got a lot of milestones to celebrate this evening, including the inaugural spa bath down at the Whakamana Cannabis Museum down there at 66 David Street in Caversham, South Dunedin. And, you know, it's the facilities at Whakamana down there that make our broadcast possible, and all this goodwill, you know, a resource center for the community. So if you support legalization, if you support what we're doing here at the Whakamana Cannabis Museum, please show your support, you know, give us a donation or lend a hand, and we really appreciate it. And I think we're gonna go hit the spa now, and we just wanted to check in and join our lovely viewers for a fat session live on YouTube. We hope you've enjoyed the evening.
Have a good night, guys.
See ya.
Good night.